Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Langford, editor at Performance Marketing World, and welcome to a special webinar on the PMW Awards 2023, one of the biggest nights in the industry's calendar, where we celebrate the best of data-driven marketing in the UK. Now, we've already had an influx of entries so far, but there is still time for you to enter. And you can download an entry kit on our website, pmw.com, on the awards page. And it's a fantastic chance to celebrate with your team, to show off your best work to the industry and be seen by a fantastic brand-packed panel of judges, and some of which are with us today. So they're from TikTok, Coco Rio, Vodafone, and SEMrush. So let's start by introducing them all. Katrien, would you like to start by telling us who you are and what you do?
So hi, my name is Katrien Grobler. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Coco Rio, currently an award-winning childcare startup in London. But my experience spans over 2 decades in large international FMCG like Unilever, Reckitt Benckiser, and Danone, and also as head of branded enterprise in Vodafone. And I'm super passionate about the old classical brand development and very consumer-centric marketing principles, and combining them with digital marketing and performance marketing to really leverage and maximize all the campaigns.
Fantastic. It is all becoming about that blend. You're very much on trend there, Katrien. And Fernando, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, fantastic to be here. My name is Fernando Angulo. I'm Senior Market Research Manager at SEMrush. We are a leading digital marketing provider. We provide data, and also we help businesses to run globally their ads campaigns, their search engine optimization campaigns, content, social media, and we help them to create their online visibility. As a market research, I do exactly that, market research for several companies and help with data-driven decisions.
Thank you for that, Fernando. And Dan, would you like to introduce yourselves to our viewers?
Of course. Hey everyone, I am Dan Foote. I am the paid search and YouTube lead at Vodafone. I've been at Vodafone for about 2 years, but I've been in the industry for quite a while now. I've spent a fair bit of time in big agencies, startup, client side, so very much in that media world. So very much looking forward to judge these awards, as I expect there to be a lot of very high quality entries.
Thank you, Dan. Lots of experience there. And finally, Oran, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Robin. I'm Oran Clancy. I'm a client partner at TikTok. I work in what we call our fintech and regulated services pod. So I work with neobanks who are very performance oriented to help them scale, growth aim, new customer acquisition. Before TikTok, I have 10 years experience working in the agency world. Started off in search, but then did full cross channel. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what entries we get.
It's nice to see that breadth of channel experience you're bringing to the judging panel there, Oran. Thank you. It was a brilliant event last year, the PMW UK Awards, and this year's event will be taking place on the 9th of November at the JW Marriott Grosvenor House, London, in the ballroom. It will be attended by some of the biggest brands, agencies, and tech providers for a night of camaraderie and a little bit of competition. And this year, we have extended the deadline, which ends on Thursday, the 10th of August, 2023. Our entry kit makes it really easy for you to take part, but to make it even more effective for you when you fill out the entry kit, our judges have kindly joined us for this webinar to give us their tips on what would make a good awards entry for performance marketing. Our lineup includes of categories includes affiliate marketing, programmatic, advertising search, social media, influencer marketing, to name just a few. So there's lots of ways that you can take part and win this year. But to start, I thought we'd like to get to know our judges a little better by them revealing their own favourite achievements in their lifetime or career. It's a chance for you to do a little bit of humble bragging, each of you. So I thought I would start with you, Fernando. Could you tell us what your favourite achievement has been in your career?
Well, that's a really good question. In terms of achievements, I will say rapid growth and being able to stabilize that growth and to keep it at the same at the same level for several years, for us, have been, I don't know, a major success. I remember I started working for this company, for SEMrush, 12 years ago. We were a proper startup running tests, always testing, experimenting. Most of those tests were just amazing. We grew for a group of 22 people. So right now we are about 2,000 people in the company. So that rapid growth, keeping that same spirit of testing, failing, testing again, and going ahead with the strategy has been something really, really good for us.
Thank you, Fernando. Yes, I mean, growth marketing is at the heart of performance marketing. It's driving those leads, clicks, and sales to get there, but then maintaining it, as you say, is a whole new discipline, whole other discipline, and it takes a whole other skill set. So thanks for telling us both sides of that. Katrin, would you like to share with us your favorite or proudest achievement in your lifetime or career?
So, my career, it would definitely be when I joined Vodafone in the UK in 2015 January. The brand was declining in the enterprise section by -2. And I had a small team and presented to the board and managed to double our budgets. And it was really just about changing direction and putting digital marketing and primary content, which is consumer focused, at the heart of everything we did. And we did a huge partnerships with News UK and managed to really change all the KPIs around the brand in a period of like 6 months almost. So it was really something that I'm really, really proud of. Also, I'd never been in B2B before then. But I think the one thing that makes me stand out is probably a change in direction and strategy. So normally I show up and I don't do what's done before. And personally, my greatest achievement, I would say, to overcome lupus and really just work hard on my health. And when I just got better, I achieved the 13 Peaks, which is a race in South Africa, the 13 Hours Peaks of Table Mountain, which is 103 kilometers, and I completed that in 32 hours. So that to me was still like, always when I feel like I can't do something, I remember that, and then I feel like, no, you can do anything you put your mind to.
Well done. I mean, that's quite a personal achievement. That's 13 peaks, right? I think
I'm trying quite hard for that. I was running 70 kilometers a week in the mountains, in Table Mountain, to prepare for that. So yeah.
Just for comparison, Haymarkets has put a 3 peaks challenge in the UK, which is over 24 hours. So I think 13 peaks in 36 hours is quite an achievement. Well done there. And your talk about Vodafone gives me a nice segue into Dan. Dan, what has been your sort of favourite achievement in your career or life so far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Katrin's kind of leads naturally straight into mine, and I thank you to her. But probably I otherwise wouldn't be here. Probably my favorite achievement so far in my career came from one of my first starts for a big agency like Mediacom. So my first time, well, managing quite a large client was the big move from being in-house for Amsterdam for Adidas and then moving to be agency. So we took on a mammoth client. There was about 4 of us for the first few weeks. We had a lot of stakeholders from Adidas that were questioning every single move we made within the search and social and display worlds. We then turned that into about a 15 to 20 person team. And when I left, we were knocking stuff out the park that no one ever expected us to. So that's to date still one of my favorite accomplishments.
Wow, yeah, that is quite a great story there, Dan. Yeah, from a team of 4, humble team of 4 to go to that stage that quickly is very impressive. No, thanks for that. And that leads me to ask Orhan, what has been your favorite achievement in your lifetime or career so far?
I might be showing a bit of recency bias on this one, but when I started at TikTok about a year and a half ago, financial services was a very small part of the business, and there wasn't a huge amount of advertisers. So in that year and a half, we've had to do a lot of work speaking to businesses and convincing them that it is a legitimate platform that they can use to drive performance for their brands. And very recently, we've produced some amazing case studies that have actually proved that TikTok drives performance, really lower funnel performance and profitable customer acquisition. So I think, yeah, that's probably been the best one for me.
Thank you, Anya. We've been researching a bit on finance recently, and it has been interesting seeing how much they are thinking about TikTok as a viable channel now to drive that lower funnel acquisition. Yeah, obviously that's somewhat down to you and your team, Oran. So thank you for that. Brilliant. So we're going to get on now to some of the questions that our viewers might be wanting to know about how to get more out of their entries. But first, there are lots of award shows, but why does the marketing industry need an award show that focuses specifically on performance? I'm thinking, having just come back from Cannes Lions, which is a lot about creativity and branding, the PMW UK Awards will be looking much more at the performance end of marketing. I think I will start with Fernando. Why do you think the marketing industry needs this type of awards?
Well, this type of awards are really needed by the marketing industry because they inspire innovation. They are able to share best practices. They enable to share best practices across the industry, and of course, focus on performance is a really good part of digital marketing, because we are able to create more recognition amongst agencies or in-house team, and validation for exceptional achievements. Performance-oriented awards highlight specifically the strategies, campaigns, plans, tactics that deliver tangible results. Without those results, well, this industry will fall apart. So we need these awards very much as the not only as a show, not only as an award dinner, but as a part of our yearly plans to be compared to other fellow colleagues in this industry.
Oh yeah, it isn't just about that one night of recognition. It is about finding some really best-in-class examples, and I found that from previous years. It's just the standard of entries is really good. It's just like shows you this is what good performance marketing can look like across different sectors. So thank you, nicely put there, Fernando. Dan, would you like to weigh in on why you think we need a performance marketing awards in the UK?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I think there is a dime a dozen for brand creative-led performance marketing or brand marketing awards. It's one where anyone can have an opinion on brand, and sometimes you can get dumb lucky. You know, maybe you put a dog in the ad and then suddenly that wins ad of the year. It could be ultra small specific stuff. Whereas not anyone can walk in and be a performance marketer. You have to work hard, own your craft, and know exactly what you're doing when you're doing it. It's not about giving a whole load of budget to a bunch of different, vendors and suppliers and just hoping that everything goes well. It's about, building really strong foundational people that then go on to become real performance leaders in the industry. So I think these kind of awards are very important at building people up from, whether it's from the ground level, the mid level, or even the higher up level. It's just about building those people up to being that next generation of truly great performance leaders.
Thank you, Dan. Nicely put. And yeah, I think you also hit the nail on the head there with the different levels of achievement, whether that's someone starting out at mid-level or a practitioner level or higher up. We want these awards to be as inclusive as possible. And we do notice from our delegates and stuff that a lot of people that come to these awards are that kind of really practitioner level, that really that engine of performance marketing. So we're always quite proud when we see the kind of people that come to these awards. They have driven those kind of results. So thanks, Dan. Oran, why do you think we need a performance marketing world awards like this?
I think across performance marketing, there's a set of niche skills that everyone has across different channels. And it's a really good time to reflect on those and shout about who's doing great work. There's also a huge amount of innovation in the market that's kind of constantly changing. There's lots of technology that's being used. People are integrating different technologies with different channels. And it also just lets the industry know what good looks like. So when you're in a when you're in a hall with maybe some of your competitors and you've got your work against theirs, there's a bit of healthy competition about it, but it's also good to see what other people are doing. And yeah, just to see what good looks like.
Yeah, I do quite like that when you do see the agencies and tech providers that are offering competing services all kind of together in a room, and there's often a nice camaraderie there, but they're also kind of learning from each other. You know, it's that healthy competition, as you put it there, or nicely put. Katrienne, what are you looking forward to about awards like this for performance marketing?
For me, performance marketing really empowers the marketing and brand department in the boardroom. Coming from a classical marketing background, when performance marketing didn't exist before digital, it sometimes was really very hard to justify budget. And the moment you can start measuring things, I get super excited because the data that's available can justify investment in marketing. And that's the one thing for me that sets performance marketing apart from any other discipline in marketing. And my father was in finance, and always when I was young in my career, I'd come home with these ideas for like Dettol or, you know, one of the Unilever brands, and I'll go, but how much money are you going to make from it? So since a very young age in my career, I was driven to look for data. And the moment digital came, I was like, whoa, now we can prove anything. And performance marketing is such a skilled level of analyzing data and every single percentage point that counts. So I think it really empowers the marketing department in the whole greater business to prove that they actually are driving the direction of the brand and the business.
Well, thank you for that, Katrienne. It is, you do notice there's a certain type of person that gets very excited by data, and a lot of people are in the room right now and will be at the Performance Marketing World Awards. I've noticed it myself when I start to see some of the dashboards and things. I suddenly realize, oh, you can see this and see, you can compare this and how it affects the other area, and that is really where performance marketing comes alive and gets those results that we are seeing, and seeing the investment in the UK industry for that. Moving on from that, we're going to get down to the tips now for the people watching now. They're going to fill in those entry forms. I've got some tips from the Haymarket Awards team I'm quickly going to share, and then I'm going to go on to the judges, and perhaps you can all debate amongst yourselves what you're going to be looking for most in an entry this year. I'm going to quickly run through what my esteemed Haymarket Awards team have given me as advice. So these are things to keep in mind. Keep in mind that the judges may be reading up to 30 entry papers. I just want to make sure my judges realise that. That's great. Up to 30 entry papers as part of the judging process. So get as many eyes on your paper before you submit as possible. Don't just do it with one person. Make sure you've got someone else to check it out, and listen to feedback. Another one, this is quite important, it's close to my heart. Delete unnecessary jargon, keep things simple, or at least explain your terms. Remember that the judges are experts within their field. So think of this as an elevator pitch to the judges. So think of Dan, Katrienne, Oran, and Fernando. Think of how you're going to pitch to these experts. Pick the right category. Make sure you are relevant in which one you've chosen. We've got about 30 categories in the PMW UK Awards this year. There's plenty of ways you can choose, and make sure if the right category could be vital to deciding whether you win or not. Look at past winners and to help you choose your category. A bit later on, I'm going to run through some of the biggest winners from last year. There's some really impressive ones. But do check out pmw.com for some examples of previous winners. We had some fantastic lineup in the last 2 years. So give them a read and see what kind of things work as real best in practice performance marketing. And finally, ensure you get testimonials. That really does bring your entry to life. Sometimes it gives it another perspective, a top level view. When I've been a judge, sometimes those testimonials can really suddenly make it click in my head that, oh, that's what it achieved, that kind of top level. Once you get past all the numbers, this is the end result kind of thing. So think about getting testimonials as well, whether that's from a client or otherwise. So over to our judges. I'd like this to be a little bit more of a free debate here. So I'm going to let someone volunteer to speak first on this one. What will you be looking for in a winning performance marketing entry, and how much does it come down to a science versus a gut feel when you're going to be going through these entries? Would anyone like to speak up first on this?
Sure. For me, I think it all boils down to business impact. So, you can spend money on a platform and you can get lots of reach, and it might be qualified reach, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do as advertisers is kind of drive sales or profit for a business or revenue for a business. So any entry that shows how what they've done in an innovative way has kind of given bottom line performance for a business, I think that's going to be really important for me.
Thank you for that, Owen. Would anyone else like to add to that? Are there any other criteria?
I mean, the four things I'll be looking for is to see if there's a clear strategy also behind the plan, and it's not just the tactical execution. So there's a vision for the next, 3 years. Also integration of the different channels. I'm quite keen to see. There's so much exciting things also now with AI, allowing some scalability in some of these plans. So obviously that is very topical at the moment. And ROI. Definitely, I want to see if there's a return on investment in the plan. And then I think to tell a story, because in marketing departments, there's always a story on how you manage to deliver the result. There's always something authentic in how you manage to achieve it as a team. And I think that those nuggets of authenticity and storytelling in an application also sets you apart from the others.
Thank you, Katrina. I do like the telling stories from data is quite a good sort of thing. I always like a good analogy and stuff. Sometimes it can be hard to work out. You get a lot of numbers in these entry forms, and it's quite important to sort of see the sort of scale of change there. Does anyone else want to add to what Katrina said?
Yeah, just a very small extra bit. I would just say when there's all of those different kind of pieces coming together, and you're trying to put together like that beautiful jigsaw puzzle, so then you can see every individual piece of how everything works together and what that story is. The more complex it becomes, usually the more convoluted it becomes. I don't know, it's usually if you can keep it relatively simple with a clear strategy, a clear message from beginning to end, you're going to get your points across a lot easier than someone who focuses on listing off every metric that any platform can give them. And it will help us see, clearer business objectives and impacts.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan, sorry. That's very true. I think even though some of the entries will be complicated, there will be lots of moving parts in them. What Dan said is very true. If you can sum it up nicely in a few sentences, that's great. You can also always include the details later on, but get that story in early so people can understand how that works. That would really help. Fernando, would you like to add anything to what Dan said?
Yes, a lot of things have been said, and all of them are crucial, are really important for each entry. As a judge, I always look for three things. The first one are the objectives, the measurable results that they have, the goals. They need to have really good goals. The second thing is they need to use data. So data-driven decision making and analysis about why they have done is really important for me. So they have the results and they need to understand why they have those results. And the last thing that is really important for me is creativity and innovation. So the ability to adapt to market changes, the ability to be more innovative in all different situations, how they adapt to their situation. That's something that is a vital element for this, for any entry, I would say.
Thank you. Yeah, innovation is always a key. It can sometimes be a bit of a tiebreaker when I've judged awards. Just they've both been impressive, but that kind of one that's been slightly more innovative to overcoming a problem has often been that tipped away. Same with you, Fernando. One thing I would also add to everything everyone's been saying is it doesn't matter how big or small your budget is, the PMW Awards UK will be open to organisations of any size, and we do like to see ones that have, from local businesses, some ones that have overcome smaller problems that are more about growth rather than maintaining growth and things like that. So it really is open to all levels of marketing. And And moving on from that, I wanted to just quickly on to categories. This year, we have expanded the number of categories due to popular demand. The main area we've expanded into is we have added more sectors. So that includes beauty, fashion, food, drink, hospitality, automotive, charity, retail, and more. So there's a lot more ways that you and your teams can win if you enter the P&W UK Awards 2023. I just wanted to quickly ask our judges, you have seen our category lists. From your own experience, which ones are you most excited about seeing the entries from this year?
For me anyway, I mean, finance and insurance, which a lot of people won't be super excited about, but that's my day today. I'm really looking forward to seeing some entries in that sector. And yeah, as coming from an agency background, I'm always interested to see who's going to be the agency of the year, or who's at the forefront of innovation in the agency world.
Yeah, the agency of the year one is always one of the most hotly contested in our awards, and that is always good to see. We have finance, again, very much one of those sectors that is living and breathing performance marketing, very much a lot about those conversions, about that bottom of the funnel as well as the top. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one to see how the different agencies contest that. Has anyone else got any categories that are dear to their hearts?
For me, and the sectors are definitely looking at beauty, just because I love beauty stuff, but also it's a super competitive market at the moment, and there are so many new brands coming on and doing new things, so it's quite innovative. And the strategy, I think for me, innovation and purpose. I'm really excited to see what people would enter as something where they're delivering on the purpose and the marketing innovation. And then the team of the year, that's always a cool thing for me, because one thing which I know is that it's impossible to deliver these results without a strong team and working together. And that's really fun to also celebrate the evening. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's so many categories, and I think that gives a lot of people the opportunity to enter and really showcase what they are best in.
Absolutely, yeah. Do pick those categories carefully, everyone. But that's fantastic advice. Thank you, Katrien. Daniel, do you have one that you might be excited about judging most?
I mean, mine's probably quite obvious. Paid search. That's going to be a ferocious one to properly judge. No punches are going to be pulled there. So my expectation is very, very high of all the entries. Outside of paid search, I'm very intrigued to get to see the fashion sector. I mean, I've always been a very big fan of it ever since, working with brands like Adidas, worked with brands like Aldo, big, small, they all have their own way of kind of dominating a market. And especially for, smaller companies, how do they break into that kind of already very big saturated market? So very intrigued for that. And then when it comes to those individual strategy channels, for me, a lot of it will be what they can do is fantastic, but how are they measuring it?
Yeah, that will be an interesting barometer almost of how the industry is moving, to see that. And just so viewers know that fashion, this is the first year that we're including fashion as a sector. So it really will be interesting to see the kind of entries we get in that sector. And I hope you enjoyed looking at them, Dan, as well as the paid search ones.
Can I ask a question regarding the paid search one? There's a lot of paid search now, which is powered by AI. So in the Performance Marketing Awards, will we distinguish between paid search, which is powered by AI, and some which are not?
It's a good question. I think a lot of paid search and programmatic and stuff. I think AI itself has been a big player in that world for a while. I think it'll be interesting to see how the new iterations of that this year. I think we'll have to leave that onto the awards team when we actually get the final look at the final entries. We have been known to break up things in the past. We might have to adapt. This is the first year that Gen AI has played such a big role in the awards. I think in the creative at Cannes, I noticed that there was a lot of AI winning some, or Gen AI being incorporated into creative. But in the performance world, for keyword analysis and things like that, it's generative AI is being used a lot more. It's a good question, though, Katrien. I'm going to make sure we check that out with our awards team.
The reason I'm asking that is because we are using Brightbid for our paid search, and it's very obvious that the AI is delivering the growth, right? So for me, it's like the level of human involvement is becoming less and less and less. So yeah,
I think it's the implementation of the technology as much. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to get to the point where little bots are kind of going to come up on stage and collect the actual awards. But I don't think we. But yeah, that's a very good point, though. And I think the way the industry is evolving is fascinating. And I would almost want to like count the number of entries that are incorporating AI, particularly generative AI rather than predictive AI, into their entries this year. Fernando, do you have any particular categories you're interested in looking at?
Well, actually, right now, after this small discussion that AI is generating, I'm particularly excited about judging the categories that involve emerging trends and technologies in the marketing landscape. Well, keeping up with this advancement in the industry is essential so we can shape the future of marketing overall.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I'm almost thinking we'll probably end up writing a little feature about the trends we see coming out of these awards, because I think we'll get a nice barometer of where it's heading and how much those new technologies are being used. Thank you, Fernando. I wanted to quickly talk about, I mentioned I was going to say some of the winners from last year. I think I want to mention the Grand Prix winner from last year, which was quite a pertinent one. It was won by Essence Mediacom X, who worked with the International Olympics Committee, and they created, if anyone remembers the Olympics, it was actually postponed for a year, and they worked with the IOC to generate lots of interest by creating a custom medal engine, which was the first of its kind bespoke tool that automatically published localized Facebook and Instagram ads that displayed as soon as a medal was won, and it drove so much engagement for the Japan Olympics. And you remember that it wasn't an attended event, so they really needed to drive up online engagement, and that really was a massive boost. It ended up delivering a huge increase in visitors to the IOC website. So that won the Grand Prix, and that was innovation, and it was also a bit of a story, an adversity story. So that was quite interesting. I wanted to now move on. There are some cynics of awards like this. And there also might be people that are hesitant of downloading an entry kit. So what would you say to encourage them to take part in this year's awards if they've already downloaded the entry kit but they haven't quite got around to filling it in? Oren, what would you say to someone that's not quite sure whether they should enter yet?
I think if you're managing campaigns and if you're a performance marketer, you'll know if you've done good work. So I would say, go for it. Cynics don't tend to do these things, and they'll never get the recognition for it. So put yourself out there. You'll often find when you're writing out these rewards and you look back at some of the work that you've done, and you're like, oh, this is actually really good. So yeah, I'd encourage anyone who's worked on a campaign that's scrubbed results to give it a go.
Yeah, it's nice to occasionally just reflect and then go, actually, yeah, it is worth shouting about that, and it's worth letting the rest of the industry know, and experts like yourself giving it a look and seeing how it does. Thank you. Anyone else got anything to say to give those people a little nudge to why it might be beneficial to complete that entry kit form?
I mean, I actually agree, because I often think, is what I'm putting forward good enough? And I think right now the economy is quite hard. Things are difficult in business, so people might particularly be thinking that. But just putting your entry in is already something that you can use to reflect on the work that you've done. And you might find that you have actually really performed well compared to the rest of the benchmark. And I think it's always a great thing for teams, because I mean, I'm very big on doing things as a team, and I think winning an award or even being nominated or being on the list or shortlisted is something that really encourages a team and builds motivation and just encourages them to do even better the next year, to be able to win then. So I would use it as a source of motivation for the team, if not to win.
Absolutely. It is really nice to just to give your team some sort of focal point, isn't it? It's fantastic. I'm going to carry on the question, but sort of open it out a bit more broadly. Not just why should you enter, but what also the benefits of winning an awards like this. I'm going to field that over to Dan. What would be the benefits of winning awards like the Performance Marketing World UK?
Well, I mean, there's benefits to winning and just to going, really. I got to go to my very first awards within the first 6 months of starting my career, and I've still got friends that I speak to from that very first networking kind of event. Not only can it be a fantastic kind of evening for yourself, your team, your company bonding, it also gives a real spotlight to the amazing work that you as the individual get to put forward. And when you do win and you get to take that trophy home and put it in your cabinet in the office for everyone to see how amazing you are, it's going to be something that you end up chasing for a very long time.
There is just something about winning an award. It does sort of elevate you. And yeah, and the night itself is fantastic. And I do promise Haymarket put on a good award show. So it was very popular last year. My main barometer for that was that people were still on the ballroom floor quite late into the evening. So it's a fantastic evening. And it's also, yeah, as Dan says, great for networking and meeting more people in the industry, because it's a huge focal point. Fernando, is there anything you would like to add for either taking part or winning an awards like the PMW UK Awards 2023?
Well, I will say that entering such awards pushes all participants to truly assess their strategies and results, so they can review it with other colleagues, with experts in the industry, and this can lead to valuable improvement. And well, the recognition, the exposure that they will receive will be really, really important in this case, not only for their own strategy, but understanding what is happening around the industry. So collaboration with other marketing teams, expanding the network. So networking part is also really, really good, and opening doors to new collaborations and opportunities with other fellow marketers.
Thank you very much for that, Fernando. Yeah, it is all that community and that growth and celebration is all it's about. Thank you. I wanted to also add that it isn't just about winning. We also have highly commended awards. Last year, so much so that we found that the standard of entries was so high that our panel of judges actually created an entirely new awards section for one particular award. So we had a breakout growth and innovation award invented actually in the judging panel day, and that was awarded to Performix at Starcom for their work with Domino's, which was an SEO-based local experience. They really boosted Domino's appearances on search pages in local searches by creating 1,200 bespoke SEO optimized local pages, and that saw a huge uplift in search and traffic for Domino's in their local rankings. And so that's an example of one that did so well, and they didn't quite win the Grand Prix, but they wanted to create an entirely new category. So there's lots of other ways, you know, it's not just winning, it's highly commended, you get shortlisted, you get the exposure. There's lots of reasons to enter the PMW UK Awards. And finally, for the final question, I thought I'd end on a slightly more lighter note. What is your favourite part of an awards evening? There's obviously lots of different elements that go into it. I don't know how many of you've been to, but would anyone like to come forward and say their favourite experience at an awards show and what they really look forward to?
I think it's a bit of fun, right? Get to dress up. You get a sneak peek at your competitors' work. There's dinner, there's drinks, there's networking. It's just a good night out.
Awesome, thank you. I think the dressing up bit's my least favourite part of it. It's the black.
My favourite, guys. I'm planning my outfit already.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Catherine. Anyone else have a sort of favourite part of the evening?
For me, it's about the atmosphere. It's electric. Everybody comes together. They are nervous. They are excited. The anticipation, the timing, the next award is going to be, and they are all waiting. So that feeling is really, really important to me.
Thank you, Fernando. Yeah, it's electric is a good word I would use to describe the night. And it's an excitement, a feeling of excitement. And it's also quite relaxed though as well. It's a good combination. Dan, have you got any favourite parts? I think you've been to one you mentioned.
I've been fortunate enough to go to quite a few. I mean, the dance floor does tend to call my name the longer the evening goes on. Okay. But I mean, for me, I think the first thing will be an experience I haven't really had before, where getting to match, you know, a team to a piece of work and seeing, you know, the happy little smiles when they go up on stage and collect their award.
It is interesting because sometimes you do just sort of see it in trade papers like W or something, but then you actually see the team in person. It does make it a whole different level, really interesting. And you've just given us I've just heard two more reasons to go to the PNW Awards: to see Katrine's outfit and to see Dan on the dance floor. So that's another reason to take part. And thank you everyone for taking part in this webinar today. It's been really exciting. I hope the viewers have learned something about how to get more out of their entries for the PNW UK Awards 2023. So do download the entry kit. The deadline is the 10th of August 2023, so not very far away. But I hope to see you all on November the 9th at the award ceremony. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.